This is Hannibal here from the HannibalTV.com with a daily wrestling news update. Raw last night did a 0.54 rating, down 10% in 18 to 49 viewers from the previous week that had Logan Paul on Raw. So he definitely made a difference. Last week was one of their highest viewed episodes of all time, but I believe it was actually down more than 10%. I may have written that down slightly wrong. The interesting thing that happened on Raw, which here it is right in front of me. Sorry for the delay. It did do, 0.54 in 18 to 49, which was actually a 16% drop from the 18 to 49 last week. And there was an incident with Ric Flair's daughter, Charlotte, and Nia Jax, where it appeared that they got into it a little bit in their match. And then they ended up settling down and doing the finish, but it was looking very sloppy and definitely looking like there was some heat between the two. It was actually the most interesting thing I've seen in WWE this year, to be perfectly honest with you. And I'm being genuine. I found it entertaining. But what made me wonder by watching that, as I reported in my Wrestling Observer review this week, Charlotte Flair had publicly said on Renee Young's podcast that the WWE knew she wasn't going to attend the event that she was advertised for in Charlotte, which was, of course, Ric Flair always said Charlotte was his hometown. Charlotte was named after Charlotte. I can only imagine fans were really pissed and chanting, "We want Charlotte," during the match, because what Charlotte said was WWE knew that she was going to go to Mexico to support her fiance in his loss against Kenny Omega, I guess. Maybe he didn't lose. I don't know. All I know is he didn't win the title. And she missed that event. So maybe to get back at her for saying that publicly, that it was on them, they told Nia, hey, rough her up a bit. Who knows? I'm just speculating in my mind, because sometimes that company seems to have done that type of stuff in the past. They had Bob Holly do it to people, and Bradshaw rough certain people up. So I don't know if they use Nia Jax for that role. But Charlotte was quoted as saying on Renee Young's podcast that she was surprised fans weren't more supportive of her going to see her fiance when they paid money to see her wrestle. Yeah, I wonder why they would give a damn if you're going to see this guy wrestle in Mexico or not, if they paid money to see you. I guess Ric Flair appeared on that same Renee Young podcast and denied he was going to be at the AEW event this weekend. However, he did say he is going to be in Chicago. And he said, quote, "I can also tell you, people started rumors. I'm not going to get into it. No need for that. Oh, he's going to AEW. He and Tony Khan are friends. Yeah, we are friends, but I haven't heard a word from Tony. If he asks you, tell him I'm around," end quote. So he's saying he hasn't talked to Tony Khan about appearing in Chicago at the All Out pay-per-view, but he's going to be in Chicago this weekend. And if Tony Khan wants to reach out to him, he can. So take that for what you want. Apparently, the 90-day no-compete clause for Braun Strowman, Lana, Ruby Riott, and Buddy Murphy are all up. We know Buddy Murphy is going for sure to the ECW Arena show September 18th to wrestle Brian Cage, which is going to be a huge event. Battleground Pro Wrestling. Braun Strowman, Impact has already hinted he'll be at Bound for Glory. There's rumors he might be appearing in Qatar Pro Wrestling at their big Super Slam 3 event in the new year. For Lana, people will automatically assume that she might go to AEW because of Rusev. Ruby Riott, I really know nothing about. WWE filed a trademark for the, quote, Queen's Crown Tournament, end quote, on August 27th. The Matman podcast already reported that WWE was planning to hold a Queen of the Ring tournament later this year, which would end in Saudi Arabia. So that would be interesting because the dress would be a lot different in Saudi Arabia. One interesting thing that Qatar Pro Wrestling owner, who I interviewed yesterday on this channel, and I've been posting some of their matches, they've had to be off for a few years due to COVID, and they're relaunching in 2022 because they can't do any events this year due to the country's COVID policy. But he said WWE, part of their deal with Saudi Arabia is they can't come to any other Middle Eastern countries during the time of their contract with Saudi Arabia. So I guess that's why you never hear about WWE going to Kuwait or Qatar or Egypt or any places like that anymore. But I'm happy that this Qatar Pro Wrestling is having a little alliance with Hannibal TV because they definitely have access to some great talent. So I'm looking forward to seeing how their next event develops. And speaking of COVID, by the way, I did post some of the matches from last weekend's event in Kingston, the Great North Wrestling event in Kingston. We just got finished the full lockdown here in Ontario around July 21st. You couldn't even work out until mid-July here in Ontario. Our event was under strict COVID rules for attendance. We were only allowed 50 on the floor, 50 in the hockey arena stands. And because of this, we had to actually add a second event. And we still had to turn a lot of people away from the first event. And there's Piper barking at something. She already tripped me over the weekend. Piper, get in here. She's being very mischievous lately. Okay, so CM Punk has officially retired from MMA. This is interesting because everyone thought he had already retired, but I guess maybe he was hoping UFC would bring him back again. Piper, get in here. She is being a pain in the butt today. Yeah, sorry, she's distracting. So as far as his MMA career, I guess UFC just never used him again. And he's now 42 years old and going back into pro wrestling. So he's officially retiring. He's out of the USADA testing pool. So there you go. You're not going to see him again in MMA. He signed with UFC in 2014. Didn't actually fight until 2016. And that was September 2016. Then he didn't fight again until June 2018, where he lost to Mike Jackson, another 0-1 fighter, by unanimous decision. And I don't believe Mike Jackson has fought again since Dana White said after that fight that fight didn't even belong on UFC Fight Pass. He was training in MMA in Milwaukee. So I guess he went back to visit his old training grounds, where obviously he didn't spend enough time because with the great coaching he had, he really should have done a lot better in UFC. He was pretty embarrassing to the wrestling industry as far as his performance. And he made a lot of money, so good for him making money. And obviously the AEW fans don't seem to care that he didn't do well in UFC. They're still very much supporting him in AEW. We've already seen his second week. Piper, come here. She's being very bad today. His second week ratings were already considerably down from his first week. Good afternoon, Mitch Seinfeld. Scott, no, Piper tripped me, and I fell face first in the cement. And she's still giving me more problems, as you can tell. Gray, why don't I go to AEW? Well, here's something interesting. Let's put this up. These are the August YouTube numbers for the Hannibal TV, where we had considerably more numbers than some major companies. In fact, we did 1 million more views on YouTube than Ring of Honor. We did 3 million more YouTube views in NWA, 2 million more YouTube views than New Japan Pro Wrestling. And someone asked me every month, I try and mix it up other than those main three. MLW, they seem to have given up on YouTube. And I don't even know if they air on Vice anymore or where they air. And I have nothing against MLW, but they seem to be continuously removing videos from YouTube, which is why they're in the negative, but they were never really a force on YouTube. But I don't know what's happening with their footage these days. But to answer your question, why don't I go to AEW? Because I'd rather work for myself and be successful myself. Now, I think it said CM Punk was 42 or 44. I forget. But supposedly he's making around $3 million a year, according to some people. We haven't seen like an official number come out yet with AEW. By the time I'm his age, I want to make over $1 million a year on my own, through my own business, not through having to have someone boss me around and tell me what to do. I don't want to deal with that. And would I go to AEW as an interviewer? If they wanted to use me to do some interviews for them, some career interviews, sure. But I'm retired as a wrestler. I gave them a chance for me to come out of retirement last year when Cody Rhodes did his open challenge thing. I had Terry Funk go on the record saying Cody should do it. Kevin Sullivan, Conan, the Mountie, Jacques Rougeau, Jerry Jarrett, so many people, WWE Hall of Famer Bushwhacker Luke, who was always known as a great booker, were all saying, yeah, you should have had that match for his alleged open challenge, but he didn't want to do it. So that was their one and only chance to have me come out of retirement. But the whole reason I did that was to prove that the open door policy, or whatever the hell they were calling it, was a fraud, and he was only facing hand-picked opponents. Thank you, Bill, the $1 Million Man Bill there, $50. What a great supporter of this channel. Bill is. I really appreciate it. And everyone that subscribes to patreon.com/thehannibaltv to watch my full shoots ad-free and tips me on here. It all adds up and helps me pay for stuff and get bigger. So I am working on a bunch of new shoot interviews for this month. A lot of people have been asking me for another UFO interview. I have a very credible guy, Richard Lang, tomorrow. It's going to be a live interview on this channel, and I'm really looking forward to it. He used to work for Robert Bigelow, among other people, and if you know anything about UFOs, you have an idea who that guy is. But he's also a trained investigator in real life for real life agencies, not just UFOs. However, he's also done a lot of UFO research. So I'm excited about that one. I actually have been trying to get him for a few months. So thank you, Bill. You're the greatest. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and click the subscribe